My mother is making wedding planning difficult, so we eloped.
Get it over with. Just do it already.
I am Izzy. I'm 23 years old, and I'm currently planning to get married in early January in just a few weeks. My fiance proposed a couple of months ago, and honestly, we weren't stressing too much about the wedding planning. By the way, this comes from user independent cat 4900. If you want to submit your own stories, go do it at the r/OK storytime subreddit. So, both of our families offered to help with the arrangements, and since we're starting fresh, new jobs, moving into a new place, it just felt natural to keep things small. We decided on a simple civil ceremony for now, and then maybe in a few years, once we've saved up, we can have the big traditional wedding. A little background about me: I'm an atheist, but for some reason I've always dreamed of a church wedding. It might sound strange, but it feels right for me. So we figured, why not wait until we can really afford the celebration that we both envision? Now, here's where things get complicated. My family can be difficult, to say the least. My mom and I don't have the best relationship, and while my dad and I get along well, he tends to side with her no matter what. When I explained to my mom that I wanted to keep the wedding small and save for something bigger in the future, she seemed to agree. Or so I thought. But without telling me, she went ahead and hired a wedding planner. Imagine my surprise. Then she sent us an insanely expensive budget. Sure, my family could easily afford half of it, but my fiance's family not so much. When I told her his family couldn't contribute that much, she dismissed it, saying it was their son's wedding and it was special. She kept saying, "You're the bride, you get the final say." But here's the thing. She wasn't giving me the final say. She was making plans behind my back, visiting venues, setting up meetings, and expecting me to just go along with it. Fast forward, we finally settled on a compromise. The main event would be a small family dinner with about 30 people at a steakhouse on Friday, January 3rd. But of course, my mom, being my mom, was not satisfied. She started planning a second event at a family-owned property, calling the steakhouse dinner ugly and too informal to invite her friends. To keep the peace, I agreed to have the signing ceremony on December 28th at her chosen venue, a more elegant setting for family and her friends. Even with this compromise, the fights didn't stop. Today was no exception. As a foreigner in this country, I need specific documents for the marriage to be legally recognized. I went to the courthouse to file them, but my copies were rejected. My fiance's dad, who has some connections, kindly offered to help. When I called my mom to let her know the most likely date would be Friday, January the 3rd, the date my fiance and I had originally planned, she lost it. "Izzy, we agreed the main event would be on Saturday, January 4th, and the signing would be on Friday, January 3rd, she said, clearly upset. I panicked for a second, thinking I'd mixed up the dates, but I've been meticulous about keeping notes of everything she said to avoid these kinds of issues. In the ongoing tension with my mom about the wedding, the situation only got more complicated. On December 20th, today, she sent me a message saying the wedding ceremony should be Friday, January 3rd at 6 p.m., followed by a family dinner on Saturday. I reminded her that Valentino and I had already made reservations for the Friday dinner, and I explained again that the venue couldn't accommodate us on Saturday because of the number of guests. She had previously agreed that Friday was the best day, but as usual, she seemed to forget what we had discussed.
Oh boy, what a headache.
When I told her that the reservation was already set for January 3rd, she became upset and defensive, claiming that I wasn't making decisions and that she wasn't being considered. At one point, she said she had exams starting on the 3rd, but just a month earlier, she had confirmed she wouldn't have any that day. The conversation quickly escalated, and I tried to remind her that we had been clear about the dates for months, but it didn't seem to help. In the end, it felt like no matter what I said, it wasn't enough. My mom tried to take control of the situation, pushing for her own plans, and I was caught in the middle trying to balance her demands with what my fiance and I had already planned. For real, like, a person where they're so flip-floppy and so manipulative, you have to keep a log of what they've said so you can tell them what they've already agreed to is too exhausting.
So exhausting. It's like, this person should not be anywhere near event planning at all if they can't even remember their own thoughts.
So, I got home really upset, and my mom called me asking me to leave my phone at home because she didn't want me recording the conversation, since she tends to do that with her professors at her university, so I left it. She started yelling at me, saying she wouldn't support me financially anymore, that no one considered her, and that she was paying part of everything. She said that if she wanted, she could talk to my dad and cancel everything. I asked her if she was manipulating me, and she said no. Still, I said, well, when Dad gets home, we'll talk and all come to an agreement. Then she calmed down and went quiet. She started calming down, but kept saying things like maybe she wouldn't attend my wedding, that my fiance's family was manipulating me, and that no one would love me more than her because she and my dad are my real family. After all, we're foreigners. It was honestly horrible. So when I got to my room, I called my fiance and asked him, can we change the date? He asked why. He said no, but that we could try. Then I asked, what if we cancel it? And he said yes and asked what I planned to do. I was honest with him. I told him I didn't want the party anymore, that I just wanted us to get married, go somewhere nice to eat, and play all night. I was tired of the stress of the wedding, and that once the money was ours, we could do something better. He happily accepted because he's very introverted, and I know he was doing the whole gathering thing more for me and to celebrate with his family. Still, he said he respected my decision. I told my dad, I asked when was the last time we talked about it, and he said about a month ago. Then I said, how strange. Mom told me you talked about it yesterday and that you agreed to change the date. And he got nervous saying, oh, maybe, but I don't remember.
You don't remember what happened yesterday? Yesterday? Really?
I told him to stop defending her and that I had already decided to cancel the event. I would be happier doing nothing, and once I had the money, I would know what I wanted to do. I know he'll tell her, and who knows what will happen tomorrow. I'm really scared, honestly, and there's an update here.
Oh, boy. What a mess. And now the dad's messy, too?
I didn't
Gosh.
expect so much feedback from yesterday's post, and I'm really grateful. I showed my fiancé the comments, and he was surprised by how many there were. Thank you all for caring. It makes me feel less alone. To clarify a few things, yes, I live with my parents, and yes, I want to get married before I live with my fiancé. Even though I'm an atheist, it's hard for me to let go of certain things that I was taught. My relationship with my mother has always been difficult. She's a manipulative evangelical, and while I'm not against religion, I don't agree with how she uses it. For example, when she found pictures I'd shared in a long-distance relationship years ago, she called me a sleut, banned me from talking to my brother and dad, forbade me from touching my dog, and even removed the doors from my room and bathroom.
Don't touch the dog. You're going to get all your dirty sleut germs on it.
I was grounded for 6 months with no phone, no TV, no contact with my family. That's insane. The only thing she gave me to do was read a Christian book. At the time, my brother was just a teenager, so I had to clean the house, cook, and do everything else while both of my parents worked. I'm not trying to focus on my dad right now, but he's always been somewhat okay with her decisions, so that's why I'm not going into detail about him. While this might not directly relate to the current situation, I want to share it as an example of the things my mom has done. It's also important because the wedding situation is bringing up memories of my 15th birthday. She decided everything about my quinceañera, my dress, the guest list, including my bullies at the time, and what I was supposed to do that day. I didn't even get to eat because I had to look perfect and greet every guest. OP, I hate your mom.
Yeah, this is, oh my gosh.
I have always felt that my mom views me as a reflection of the life she wished for, though I'm not entirely sure about that. Today wasn't any easier. I went to my fiance's house to get away from my parents and have some time to myself. However, my dad came into my room in the morning and suggested that we could try doing the event, even though I had already decided I wasn't going to do it. He proposed, let's do it at our place the day before and then do the main thing on the day we planned. I was exhausted, my face swollen from crying all night, so I told him that we could have discussed this yesterday and I could have talked about it with my fiance. But honestly, yesterday's situation was the last straw for me. A few hours later, my mom came into my room and suggested the same thing. She was acting oddly. She seemed almost shy and not like her usual self. I told her the same thing, adding that it would be better if we didn't have to worry about it anymore. She seemed mad but didn't want to argue. Instead, she started complaining about how I never try to talk with her or share my opinions, and that if we communicated more, she'd understand me better and have a clearer idea of what I really want, which is BS, because all she would do would lord over your opinions and your thoughts and tell you that you should think this way or do this instead.
Exactly.
Later, my fiance picked me up and we went to his house. I showed him the post I made and he was really engaged with the comments, even sharing some of them with me. Seriously, thank you so much for the feedback. A few hours later, my mom called. I put her on speakerphone and it was a bit sad yet somewhat funny to me because she was apologizing. What a strange thing.
I was not expecting that.
She said, "I'm so sorry about how I acted yesterday." I guess, which is not an apology. My fiance was like, "What the heck? I know I didn't act okay, I think. Again, what are you doing?" Then she said, "I want you to be happy," and started trying to convince me again about doing the reunion. I denied her once again, but I don't know how to feel about it all. But by the way, I know exactly how to feel. I know exactly how you should feel about listening to full episodes with stories like this, and you should feel like, oh my God, that's the best. All you got to do is go to iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, etc. Just search OK Storytime on your favorite podcast platform, and you can listen to full episodes, so many of them, like 49 days worth of episodes. A few hours later, she called again and mentioned that she had bought some things for our house, like pans and other kitchen items. I'm not sure what they're called. I thanked her, but honestly, I'm really upset. Whenever my mom or dad know they've done something wrong, they try to make up for it by buying us things or giving us a hug. While I was grateful for the gesture, it still hurt because I know my mom probably thinks that after giving me these items, I'll feel obligated to go along with the original plan, but I won't. Way to go, OP.
All right.
That's all for today. Sorry for not having much to share, but again, thank you to everyone who commented. Some of you really gave me the strength to say no, and that is the end of that story.